What is going on, Pooch Crew? Thank you for being here for episode 117 of the Poochie Podcast. Fun episode lined up today. Not as fun as it would be if the Jaguars had pulled out a miraculous come-from-behind victory on Sunday against the Colts. But nonetheless, we're here to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts matchup from Week 10 of the NFL season. We'll have more videos coming out later this week, recapping some other games from Week 10 and previewing games from Week 11, including Jaguars versus 49ers. Finally, a West Coast team coming to the East Coast to get a taste of our medicine. Hopefully the Jaguars can do some damage to those 49ers who seem to be in shambles, but we'll get into that down the road. But for right now, let's discuss Week 10 Jaguars versus Colts. I want to welcome in Jacob and Matt as well. For those listening, those watching, please bear with Matt. He is working with duct tape right now, trying to keep his stream together, but he has fought through it all. Like he went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson, and he is here on the stream. So, guys, thanks for being here.
Good to be here.
You don't have Jacob. You don't have any Wi-Fi issues, do you?
Not right now. I hope not.
Not until there's a hurricane, right?
Looks like we're doing the podcast at your place now.
Oh, I mean, I've had issues before, and now they're fixed.
Don't say that now. Don't say that now.
Oh, boy. Yeah, okay, so they're fixed. We actually, funny enough, we have Xfinity coming tomorrow morning, and it just so happens the night before the storm, there's a monsoon here, and the Wi-Fi goes out 3 times before we start recording. So, funny enough as it is. But let's kick this thing off. Jaguars, Colts. I think a lot of us went into this with pretty balanced expectations. I know I was extremely excited for the game, but beating the Buffalo Bills 9-6 will do that for a fan of a team that is 2-6. And we went into this game against the Colts. If you watched the last episode, Colts haven't really beaten many fantastic teams this year. This was another game for them against a well below 500 team in the Jacksonville Jaguars, but it was a divisional opponent, and these teams always seem to play each other tough. Matt, Jacob, thoughts from you kind of on the game, just the flow of the game, what happened in this game, just initial thoughts before we dive too deep into anything specific.
Go ahead, Matt.
I mean, tough first quarter for the Jags. Thinking down 17-0, and then defensively they played well the rest of the game. I guess this is a bad first quarter, and just gonna find a way to just pull it away near the end.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I wasn't even watching the game. I was downtown watching the World Championships of skateboarding, so that was something different. I wasn't too worried about missing this game just because we're not in any kind of playoff hunt. But watching it through my phone, like watching box score, watching play-by-plays, it did not look good at all to start. It looked like, oh no, Jonathan Taylor's running all over us. I get a notification he has 90-some yards in the first quarter. But like Matt said, defense tightened up, and really it's like you want to say defense tightened up, or maybe they just had a few plays like kind of leak out in the early part of the game. And then maybe like overall the whole game, it was pretty good defensive performance. Because if you look at the recent games from the Colts, they had been scoring last week 45, previous week 31, 30, 31, and we let up 23 points, and 7 of those points came off of a blocked punt. So surprisingly, the defense kind of kept its momentum from the previous week, and it's the offense that I need to see something happen. They're like a dead animal on the side of the road right now.
Yeah, let's start with that real quick, actually, the first quarter, because 2 things stood out to me. One, the defense is the ultimate bend, don't break defense. First drive of the game, Colts drove down the field 5 minutes, got down inside the 10-yard line. Defense stepped up, only allowed a field goal. Jags get the ball back, go 3 and out. Colts block the punt, return it for a touchdown. Jags get the ball back, go 3 and out, punt the ball away. Colts drive down the field and score. The Colts are up 17-0 in the first 12 minutes of this game. And the reason I bring that up is because this is a team that we've seen for the last 3, 4, 5+ years would crumble at that point. I mean, 17-0, we'd have zero confidence in any hope of a comeback. We'd think, okay, this game's over before it even started. There's no chance that we should even come back in this game. But realistically, we kept watching, the team kept playing, and they slowly inched their way back into it. They responded nicely with a Jamal Agnew 60-plus yard touchdown run, not a pass, a run, to get it back to 17-6. We'll talk about special teams woes in a little bit, but get it back to 17-6. Defense continued to step up, And like Jacob said, they only allowed 16 points. They allowed one touchdown to this Indianapolis Colts team who had put up over 30 points each of their last 4 games. And in the previous episode of the podcast, I discussed my thoughts on the game. I said it was going to be 27-17, 27-21, but I said it was going to be a 6 to 10 point victory. And here we sit with a 23-17. Luckily, I told you guys to put your money on it. Hopefully, you guys listened to covering the 10.5 point spread. But this defense really inspired me after that Buffalo Bills game that they can step up. The first quarter did not look too hopeful, but the rest of the game, Jonathan Taylor, only 23 yards from the second quarter until the end of the game. Only 23 yards. Carson Wentz, 22 of 34 for 180 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, this was a very good performance by the defense, and ultimately, that's the whole reason we even had a chance at the end was because of this defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what you want to see.
I was going to say, I find it crazy to think that the defense seems to be. I want to see it one more game because if it's 3 games in a row, I feel like that's the trend. But this defense seems to be turning a corner. New coordinator, some new faces. Maybe things are starting to mesh together. They're starting to figure something out. And for whatever reason, I feel like we just never in Jaguars history have both things happen at the same time. And the one time I felt we did, we went to the playoffs. From Trevor's side, he struggled, but the thing is his struggles got magnified by overall offensive struggles. I don't think we have any good receivers right now. We have a good running back. Um, we don't have great protection, and when you mix that up with a rookie quarterback and try to ask him to go down the field and win the game at the end, it's just so hard. And I'm glad to see the defense is starting to play, but we've known in the past how many defenses have we had that play well, but the offense does nothing, and that wears away at a defense and their confidence and their will. And I just hope that doesn't happen. I hope we get this figured out on offense to at least score like 20 some points consistently.
There was another interesting stat at halftime. One, you talked about Trevor Lawrence, tied the franchise record for fewest completed passes in a half, 2 completed passes in the first half of the football game. And then also time of possession in the first half. I think the Colts had 20 minutes and we had 10. So the defense was on the field for twice as long as the Colts defense. And for them to still come out there in the second half and play as inspired as they did was a sight to watch. And it was inspiring for the future of this team, for whether it's this year or next year. When Trevor Lawrence got the ball with 2 minutes left in the game and we had 2 timeouts and we were going down for a chance to win. If we could score a touchdown and get the extra point, we win 24-23. I was not confident that was going to happen at all. I'll be honest with you. However, I was also already accepting this is not going to work out for the Jags to win, but I'm very pleased with the fact that we had an opportunity to win it at the end, given how the team has played this entire game. That was the type of game where the opposition should have been beating us by 2 or 3 possessions in the fourth quarter, and they weren't. And we were lucky enough to have the opportunity to go down and score. What I will say, what I think was kind of like the dagger, what really kind of ruined things, was there was a 3rd down and 7 with 3 minutes left in the game, maybe 3.5 minutes left. 3rd down and 7, Carson Wentz hit Michael Pittman on a 27-yard completion that got them into the Jags territory. It would have been 20-17. They would have had to punt the ball back to the Jags. Jags have 3 minutes to go down and kick a field goal to tie the game instead of have to score a touchdown. That was really one of the biggest blown coverages of the game deep downfield, and unfortunately, it came at one of the worst times possible with Carson Wentz rolling out of the pocket. You literally have Carson Wentz rolling out of the pocket, not a mobile quarterback, guys giving chase, and he hits Michael Pittman, best throw of the game by far, right on the sideline. That was the dagger. What were y'all's thoughts defensively as far as keeping their stars in check?
Well, I will say on that specific play, I was listening to it on the radio. I was leaving the event and heard that. And when I just watched the highlights before we got on to kind of get some visual from what I was hearing, that play was just an amazing play. Like I saw a pass rush, I saw a lot of pressure. I saw him having to roll out of the pocket, like you said. And that throw, like, yeah, maybe it was blown coverage, maybe like that was just a damn good throw. And so it's hard to say like what could have been if we would have stopped him there. And at the end of the day, like the defense did their job. The offense just needs to pull through. And like when I was watching the final drive, I just saw what looked like pressure coming to Trevor like almost every play, and he's dumping it off to James Robinson, and he finally tries to step up and run through the last one, and he fumbles the ball. You know, you don't want your quarterback to fumble, but you also don't want to put him in a position to have to try and make something happen with his legs and then fumble the ball. I don't see us having any reliable receivers. Jamal Agnew had a great play almost happened until he dropped the ball. I don't know what point of the game it was. I think Trevor threw like a 30, 40-yard pass to him on the sideline, and he dropped it. And it's like, that's a former corner. We just don't have receivers. So if you get him blocking and you get him some receivers, like some actual receivers, I don't see why he can't progress. It's just crazy, and it sucks that we don't have any help for him.
Matt, anything from you?
Yeah, no, maybe they just need to get the sticky substance from Little Giants and just put them on their gloves.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll get them to catch the football.
Yeah, we need some sort of miracle to happen. Jacob, you hit the nail on the head there with playmakers. That's one thing that I wrote down is great quarterbacks can make do with bad receiving cores. Like we've seen Tom Brady make things work with, average, middle of the road, journeyman type receivers. Unfortunately, this offense is not in a position to be able to do that. Trevor Lawrence, his stock is continuing to rise. I think he's going to be a fine quarterback in this league. I'm not worried about him at all. I think a lot of his slow progression in this league is a direct result of negligence by this front office, not putting people around him to succeed. We have a trade deadline just past us where there were multiple receivers that were on the market, and the Jaguars have like 4 fifth-round picks. Like, just trade a few picks just for a capable guy. I mean, behind me, you're about to see Robbie Anderson score a touchdown. Like, even that kind of guy where he's not like a number one, he's not like a DJ Moore or anything like that in Carolina, but just a guy that can come in and take some pressure off of Trevor Lawrence having to run the ball. Because here's the thing, Darinka was mentioning it yesterday while we were watching the game, is she kept saying, why is he, every time I watch a quarterback, they're throwing the ball, why is ours running it? And I'm like, because the protection is breaking down and he doesn't have open receivers to throw it to. And I know Trevor Lawrence is a confident enough passer to throw a ball into a tight window. And if Trevor Lawrence isn't pulling the trigger on some of these throws, these receivers must be blanketed by these corners. They just have no separation. Laviska Shenault is, honestly, I'm the most disappointed in Laviska Shenault. Jamal Agnew is no more than a gadget-type player that you should use in an offense when you have 3 other capable receivers. And Marvin Jones has not been the receiver we thought we were getting in Jacksonville. And all of that could be in large part due to the fact that DJ Chark is not on the field. We have lost what we had claimed to be our number one guy in DJ Chark. So, in full defense, these other receivers were probably dependent on DJ Chark being there to step up, and he's not there anymore. These other receivers look like they're lost.
I think I would give a pass. I didn't watch the game, like I said, fully. I feel like I want to give a pass on Marvin Jones because I do feel like he's a good receiver, and he just doesn't have other receivers around him to complement him. I don't know. I'm not paying attention if people's number one corner are playing on Marvin Jones. But, yeah, Laviska's shown me nothing as a receiver. Jamal Agnew, the positive with that is he's essentially playing the Travis Etienne role. So hopefully next year we'll have a guy that is used to – so the 66-yard touchdown run, Etienne can do that. But I also think he's the capable receiver to catch that pass. We need to get – I think the tight end position's fine. I think Dan Arnold's a solid receiver. But, yeah, Laviska's disappointed me so much. I wanted to see him grow this year beyond like 5 yards. I don't want to see him on bubble screens. I don't want to see him on drags. I mean, use him on drags, but I want to see him like develop more of a route tree. And I think anything about Trevor's performance, you have to understand he's under pressure and there's almost zero separation.
Yeah.
And that kind of saddens me.
And people keep talking about Mac Jones in his rookie year, and do not get me wrong, I think Mac Jones is having the best rookie year by far. But is it also fair to say he was put in the best position by far? I mean, this was a Patriots team that was 15th in the draft. They were drafting 15th, and they already had pieces around him. Yeah, maybe they don't have superstars. Like, no one's going to look at Jacoby Myers and be like, that's a superstar, or Kendrick Bourne and be like, that's a superstar. But I think ultimately, when you look at what the Patriots have on offense with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevens and so many other kind of gadget players, they have enough talent and then a good offensive line with Josh McDaniels, who has done this for the past 12 years as an offensive coordinator. I'm not saying Mac Jones isn't talented. I think he's extremely talented. I also just think you have to accompany the statement of he's the best rookie quarterback by saying he was also put in the best position of all rookie quarterbacks. So people that are down on Trevor Lawrence, I think it's complete nonsense. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be fine. I think this team was taking year one to kind of evaluate some of the talent around them, because you know what? What happens in free agency if we went out and spent, $18 million a year on getting a superstar receiver just for us to win 4 games? This fan base would still not be happy. I think right now this fan base is just identifying some of the holes that the front office is also identifying. And unfortunately, during the season is not the time to address those holes. We have to wait until the offseason, till free agency, till the draft to put more help around Trevor Lawrence. It's that simple. It's not going to happen tonight. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It'll happen in the offseason.
Yeah, and something else that I think about as we're talking about this is, I think I already mentioned it, but like we did let up a blocked punt for a touchdown. So if you take that away, like the offense still at least did enough to win the game based on what the defense did. So like you kind of have these plays here that you want to take away, but like you can't really because they happen at the end of the day. But that's the type of thing that's something you clean up. Maybe people not getting separation, you don't just clean that up. You need to get someone to develop, or you need to get better players. But it is good enough to think like, okay, we had a chance to win this game, but some fluke, special teams play happened. The offseason should be nice. We should hopefully sign a receiver, draft a receiver, get DJ Chark back. I don't know, but it's sad that I wouldn't worry anything about Trevor Lawrence, and I wouldn't care about what anyone says. Mac Jones can get it.
That special teams blocked punt, just gonna throw the name out there. Andrew Wingard was the one that missed the block in the backfield for the punt. The gunner or the blitzer ran right past Wingard and got the blocked punt, and then his teammate recovered it and scored the touchdown. But you look at that, then you also look at a missed extra point, which obviously got avenged by a 2-point conversion attempt that succeeded to none other than Dan Arnold, right to a little shovel pass to Dan Arnold. But then Matt Wright also had a missed field goal earlier in the fourth quarter as well that ended up coming back to bite the Jags, because Jags at that point would have been down 23-20, and now you have an opportunity to where in the final drive you only need to get maybe 50 yards rather than 75 yards to set up for a realistic opportunity to tie the game. And we love Matt Wright. He's went to UCF, full supporter of Matt Wright. Everyone has an off game. He won us a game in London against Miami. So you have to take the good with the bad in these situations. He also drilled a 56 yarder in this game. So you can't hate the guy and also love him. You kind of have to take the good with the bad when it comes to kicking. And unfortunately, it seems like every kicker in the NFL this year is having a lot of struggles. But anything else from you two regarding the Jaguars Colts game from week 10?
I don't think so.
All right.
Well, let's performance.
What's up?
I think it was just a solid performance. It's honestly not as bad as it looks, but I wish we would have won.
Yeah, I've come out of a lot of losses, including the Seahawks loss, being pissed off and upset. But I came out of that loss more just like, that's just a normal loss in the NFL. That was a better team beating a worse team, but the worst team still fought for it. And when you went down 17-0 in the first half, this team had every reason to give up, and they did not. And that's what I was happy about. I was happy to see they came out in the second half and clawed their way back into this game. Colts have a lot of difficult games ahead. Jaguars have some easier games ahead. I personally think Seahawks, Bills, Colts, I think this was the toughest stretch of the season for this team, and they looked competitive in the latter of the two games. So they beat the Bills, they lose to the Colts. Now we move on to play the 49ers. I think we have the Falcons coming up at some point. So we'll see what the Jags can do down the road. We'll get into that in future episodes. But you guys get an opportunity to watch any of the other games or any other highlights or see any scores from any of the other games from this past Sunday?
No, I think I was off the grid when it came to NFL this weekend. What about you, Matt?
Off the grid. Matt, what about you, buddy?
I watched a pitiful game on Thursday. Yeah, I'm here. Kudos to Maddie and Zach. Your Dolphins beat the shit out of us. But
Oh man.
yeah. But other than that, no, I decided not to watch much of the games. I was kind of just twiddling around. My picks this week were just so bad. I did worse than last week.
Matt, I'm not laughing at you at all. It's just you are
What?
so delayed right now. You're like 6 to 7 seconds delayed, and I can actually hear you recording out in the living room right now, and it's not matching up on the screen, and I just think it's funny as hell.
Oh
But
yeah, it was very hilarious.
that was really funny, actually. And for those listening on the podcast platform, go find us on YouTube to watch that clip, because that was an all-time classic, watching Matt sit there after we called him in to talk. But as Matt mentioned, Ravens go down on a Thursday night game against the Dolphins that kicked off Week 10, which honestly, another upset that was insane. We had some big blowouts, though, in Week 10. We had the Cowboys over the Falcons 43-3, which was a huge bounce-back game for the Cowboys. They needed to get a victory after getting blown out by the Broncos 2 weeks ago. We had the Pats beat the Browns. Oh,
well, then that's
we got a
throwing me
special
off.
guest here. We got a special guest here. Come on in, Dad. Give us your unfiltered thoughts on the Jaguars Colts Week 10 matchup.
Well, I thought we played hard at the end, and I was disappointed that we lost, but I'm not quitting on them because they didn't quit on us.
I like it. Short and sweet. That might be the most tame you've ever seen him talking about the Jaguars, if you know my dad. But no, he actually, I'm going to pull out a statement that he said about the Jaguars. He had put it on Facebook, and I think he summed it up pretty well. And I meant to read this while we were discussing the team, but he put it in the comments on Facebook, and this was a pretty well thought out opinion. Someone said, "What were your thoughts on the final from the Jags Colts game?" He says, "Eliminate some of the stupid penalties, get more playmakers, shore up the offensive line, and make sure defense stays strong and healthy for next year, and we will be fine. As a season ticket holder, this is the best I felt about a rebuild. Just look at what Buffalo did to the Jets today and what we did to them last week. This team didn't quit today, and I'm not quitting on them. People that are saying, sell the team, Urban sucks, etc. Well, screw all of you. It's an honor to live in a city that has an NFL team. Support it or shut your pie hole." So pretty well thought out, pretty tame opinion, but it was a loss nonetheless.